Hello and welcome to this tutorial on how to make a framework matrix using NVivo. There are several reasons why you might find a framework matrix useful. For me, I have found this function helpful in two separate studies. For my systematic review, this function enabled me to create a data extraction table. For my qualitative interview study, I found matrices very helpful for organising and visualising participants' different responses, enabling me to do within and cross-case analysis. It is this latter use of matrices that I will demonstrate in this tutorial. So I'm using some sample data provided by NVivo to demonstrate with. This is quite a broad and varied data set, and I'll not use all of it in the tutorial. But you might find it helpful to explore it in your own time for ideas of how to manage and organise your own data. I should also say that I will be using cases within this project and attributes. These have already been set up in this particular sample project, but if you want to set them up yourself, they are a prerequisite for doing a matrix. So you might want to look at some of our other videos, tutorials, to find out how to do that first. So my question for this tutorial, and what I want my framework to help me with, is to answer what do the interview participants say about their sense of community. So when I'm talking about interview participants, I'm talking about these people here. So we've got a list of people who've been interviewed in this particular project. And what I also need to help me is the codes that those interviews have been transcribed and coded with a variety of codes. So I now want to see, have I got enough information here to create a framework matrix? And to do that, I can go create, which is one of these tabs at the top, and go to framework matrix, which looks sort of like a little box of squares or a table. In the general tab here, I can see a dialog box. A dialog box comes up and I can see the general tab. And I just wanted to say at this point, I am using NVivo 20, which is the latest form of NVivo, and sometimes just called NVivo. I have also used NVivo 12 and created these matrices with NVivo 12. And from what I can tell, the process is very similar. The icons just might look slightly different on each version. So just to give you that point. So going back to this general tab, so I need to give my matrix a name. So I'm going to call it sense of community, because that's the question I want to ask. I have the option to give it a description, which might be helpful, especially if you're working collaboratively, to let people know what this particular matrix is about. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. So then I'll go to the rows tab, and I can see that I need to have some cases. So I'll go to select to see what cases we have available. And remember, I'm wanting to see what the interview participants say. So if I expand the cases box with the plus sign, I can see that I can choose from people or places. So my interview participants are people, not places. So I can uncheck the places term. And I'm not going to worry too much about what's happening with these dynamic sets at the moment. You may not even have these in your own project, and I can sort those out later. So I'll just show you. I'm going to select the people and select OK. So brilliant. Now you can see in my selected cases, I have all of these interview participants. But if I scroll down, I can see that actually also under people, they have survey respondents, and also social media participants, which I don't actually want for this particular matrix. So that's fine. I'm just going to click on the first of the ones I don't want, hold down the Shift key, hold down to the end and select the last one so that they're all highlighted, and then I'll simply click remove. So this is partly because I'm using an existing data project, sorry. I'm using an existing project, so it's been set up for lots of different uses. If you're just doing in another project, you might just have industry participants and not those other things, so you wouldn't have to go through that step. But I find it is useful to know that you can do that, and that is how you do it if it was necessary. So what I can look at next in this column is row header attributes. And it might be helpful just to look at what those are before to understand what it means. You don't have to have these. It's just a useful way of organising your matrix. So I'm going to go select, and I can see that I've got some options of case classifications. And we do have another tutorial within the resources that shows you how you can add attributes to your cases. But they've already done here for us. So if I selected one of these, so for instance, township, if I don't select township, then the rows of my matrix would come out, and I might have one participant from town A, the next from town B, the next from town C. Then I might have two from town A, one from town C, and one from town B. They'll be all jumbled up. But if I select township, then that will mean that the first part of my matrix will be all rows of people from town A. Then I'll have rows of people from town B, and then I'll have rows of people from town C. So they'll all be grouped together. This may or may not be helpful, just depends on your project and how you're going about it. And you can select whichever of these you might choose. So I'm going to just put it by township for now. So before you click OK, it's always very tempting, I find, in this. You also need to sort out the columns. And you can see here that our columns are based on theme codes. So if I go select again, I can see what I have to choose from here. So here I have the codes. And remembering that my question is wanting to know what the participants say about their sense of community, I probably don't want attitude, don't want balance. We've actually got this sense of community code down here, so I'm going to untick those other ones. And I'm just going to see, oh yeah, I can see that actually all of the subgroups are also checked. I knew that there were subgroups because there was a little plus sign here, which suggests that there's more codes underneath that one. So actually I don't want all of these subcodes. I'm just going to get rid of those. Because I just want to know about people's sense of community in this particular matrix. So then I'll select OK. And they're all in there. So we'll see what happens there. Sorry, getting click happy. So actually now I can click OK because I filled in, I've gone through each of the tabs, I've got the general information, I've selected the cases to go in my rows, and I've chosen what I want in my columns. So I'm going to click OK. I have a feeling I might have chosen a few too many of those codes, but it is likely to be easier in a project where you've decided what's in it already. So as you can see, it takes a little bit of time to load, but then you get a tab with this framework matrix, and it comes out as a table. So it doesn't always come out as the most easy to look at to start with. I can make these smaller so that I can see a bit more of it. But actually sometimes what I find most useful is to right click on the tab and undock it, which means that then it should come into its own separate page and you can see all of it. So as you can see, I've now got the different participants, interview participants, down the side here. And as we told it, it's gone by township as an attribute. And so we can see all of the people from Straits are in a group. And then if I move down, we start going into Hark and Marshallberg. I'm not sure what all of these places are. Oh, Harker's Island, I see, and Marshallberg. So yes, you can see if you hover over it, you can see more information about it. And then across the top, you can see we have the different codes. But at the moment, our table is empty. So don't worry, that's not a problem. All I need to do is go up and click on the Framework Matrix tab. You can left click that. And I select this term Auto Summarize, and it's a slightly difficult icon to explain, but sort of two almost square bullet points with dashes afterwards. That's your Auto Summarize, and if you select that, it does take a little while sometimes to do this, depending on how many rows and columns you have. You can see it's working away as this little NVivo icon flashes about a bit. I'll just give that a moment to load up and you should be able to see soon that you have cases. So because I had lots of codes here, I have asked NVivo to do quite a big task. Again, if you have your own data in your own kind of project, it probably will be quicker because you probably won't have so much other stuff going on. While it is loading, I'll just show you one of the other tabs across the top here is share, and it is actually possible to share and export this table as an Excel sheet. So if you wanted to work on it in a different format or send it to someone else, then you can do that. So as you can see, 245 summaries have been modified, and we can see that I've now got information for different participants. Now, because I've done that auto summarize, I know that actually the ones that are empty at the moment is because that person doesn't have anything coded to that particular code. It's not that it hasn't been found yet. So what I can see is it can start to help me answer what do people think about their sense of community. So if I want to look at Barbara, I can see that she thinks sometimes it's tough when people can't build the house on their land that they inherited, can't do anything with their land, but I understand the limitations also. And I can go along and sort of think, well, is there something I'm particularly interested in? Perhaps the environmental impacts of fishing. I can see what Barbara says, and then I can see what other people said. So see that quite a few people haven't actually talked much about it, but we can see that Robert and William have, and I can sort of compare them what they've said. So you can either go within the case to see all of what that one person has talked about, or you can go across cases and see what each of the different people have said about, say, fishing or aquaculture. And that's what I found very helpful for. As I said, you can also use these matrices for a data extraction form, perhaps for your systematic review. And so in which case you might have coded, instead of having these about sort of more qualitative codes, you might have codes like year, title, author, findings, methods, probably in a different order. But yes, you can have those along the top there, and you can see how that might work as a data extraction table. So that's really the how-to. A couple of things just to let you know about the table. One is that you can edit the squares. They're not set in stone. So if you knew why this person hadn't said anything about this particular, or hadn't said anything negative, you might add a comment as to just to let people know that that isn't just empty because you forgot to ask or whatever. It might be actually that they just didn't have anything negative to say, so you might want to add a bit of context in there. It might be that where you've coded some of the words, you might want to just add a few bits to make it more understandable as to what they've said. It's up to you. You can also change the order of the columns, so it tends to come out in an automatic kind of order based on the order that you had your codes in, but you can move things around. So if I want to move this column, if I go to framework matrix, rows and columns, and I can see it's actually blocked out here, but move column left, I can use Control, Shift and L. So I might go Control, Shift L, and you can see negative is now moved to the other side of mixed. If that's what you wanted. And similarly, you can do Control, Shift right, and it moves it the opposite way. So you do have that opportunity to move things around. So really, that's in sum, that is how you can do a framework matrix. And I'm just going to minimize that so you can have it as a separate tab. So you can see that it's open here, and you can open it there. So just a quick recap. The fundamentals that you need before you can make a framework matrix is you will need some cases. So your cases might be people that will provide the row headers, and you might have attributes as an optional but useful way to organize them. But cases are your key thing. And then you need your codes, which you will have needed to have applied separately following the tutorial in the coding video that we provide. The codes might relate to themes or characteristics of the data, or they might be headings for a data extraction table. Both of which you can find out more or refresh your memory in the other resources we provide. Once you have these, it's just a case of going to create and then framework matrix, which is the little box of boxes, and selecting the data that you want to be included. Remember, make sure you've completed both the column and row tabs before clicking OK. Finally, don't panic if your table comes up blank initially. Just click on the table tab, the framework matrix tab, and click on auto summarize. You should find that all the boxes for which there is data available should then be filled in. So thank you for watching. I hope that the tutorial was useful and wish you all the very best for your future projects.